Welcome to Harry's Poetry Hour. It's a very special episode today. I am Jen Clymer, and it always gives me the greatest amount of joy to be able to turn over the reins to Harry Northup. Hello, Harry.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you and the Creative Chaos team. Thank you, Laurel, Ann, and David for coming on the show today. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We have two terrific poets with us today, as I just mentioned. David will read first, and then Laurel Ann.
Before you do the intro for David, it is a very, very special episode. Today is the 250th episode of Harry's Poetry Hour. Harry has been spearheading this, getting a ton of amazing artists to join and share their poetry and their love of language and expression, and opening up their hearts to us and sharing their vulnerability for 250 episodes. Harry, congratulations. Thank you so much for doing this. You elevate everyone who participates, and you elevate the campus from everything you've been doing.
Well, thank you, Jennifer, for encouraging me to start the show in March of 2020. And Bob Beecher and you have both been very supporting and loving. And as you mentioned, the poets from outside MPTF have just been the best there are. David today is from Cambodia. Laurel Ann is from West LA. And also the wonderful readers, actors, singers here at MPTF, and some of the staff members have just been, off the chart with their greatness. So it's really been a pleasure. And as I've said before, we all co-create this show. And I'm just so grateful to have a poetry show in the motion picture country home. So thank you, Jennifer Clymer.
Thank you. And thank you, David and Laurel Ann, for indulging us for just that moment.
Thank you.
Originally from California's Central Valley, David Olivera is included in the poetry school collectively known as the Fresno Poets. He lived many years in Santa Barbara, where he founded the Santa Barbara Poetry Series and was named the city's Millennial Poet Laureate. He co-founded with Cynthia Anderson Mille Graze Press and was a founding editor of Solo Poetry Journal. He is included in several important anthologies, among them California Poetry from the Gold Rush to the Present and the Gaviera, excuse my pronunciation, Brown Book. Gavia Brown Book of Portuguese American Poetry. He's written 3 collections, the most recent being Still Life with Coffee, Brandenburg Press. He lives and writes on the banks of the Mekong River near Phnom Penh, Cambodia. A marvelous, genuine poet, David Olivera.
Thank you so much, Harry. And I'm extremely honored to be here on the 250th show. Makes me more proud than I can tell you. Well, I'm going to start with a poem by Van Bolen, because she's one of my favorite poets. It's called Atlantis, a Lost Sonnet. How on earth did it happen? I used to wonder that a whole city, arches, pillars, colonnades, not to mention vehicles and animals, had all one fine day gone under. I mean, I said to myself, the world was small then. Surely a great city must have been missed. I miss our old city, white pepper, white pudding, you and I meeting under fan lights and low skies to go home in. Maybe what really happened is this. The old fable makers searched hard for a word to convey that what is gone forever, and never found it. And so in the best tradition of where we come from, they gave their sorrow a name and drowned it. Well, as Harry mentioned, I'm in Cambodia now. And I have a few poems in my repertoire about Cambodia. And I want to read some at the beginning too. What these are my impressions. I don't think I have a true Cambodian sensibility, but these are my impressions of what life here is like. This one is called Phnom Penh at the winter solstice. Cambodians quickly volunteer their country has but 2 seasons, dry and rainy. That view suits them. It matches their science. Now winter has arrived. That view suits me, 4 seasons to match my science. Both concepts can be held at the same time. From my bedroom window, the sun rises into dawn a bit more south each morning, and daylight shortens into cooler breaths. With solstice, the sun starts to rise a bit more north each day, and the end of winter begins. I like the short days and their cool mornings. I like to listen as the perplexing syllables shake the sleepy town awake, smell distinct scents of bone and marrow boiling on wood fires into breakfast soup, watch farm produce hitch a lift into town. I like playing the tourist, wandering about to rediscover the city, despite its indifference to walkers with uneven sidewalks filled with parked cars, pedestrians forced into the street. Survival demands focused attention. Survival, in fact, persists as the main commodity for offer on these streets. Everyone copes one way or another, a handful more successfully than most. It's a defect, humans' instinct to gain privilege one ahead of the other. At first, it's startling to see how little some have compared to how much others do. In no time, a person gets used to it and stops seeing disparities at all. The transformed town of survivors moves on. The old earth and its progressions move on. Maybe because we learn of birth and death, we think in terms of beginnings and ends, without apprehending much of either. Solstice argues for continuations. Light shows up sallow and diffuse these days. Songbirds add purpose to quiet spaces. Street fever and frenzy become imbued with attitudes of distance and calmness. Welcome illusions in the dash and noise of walking headlong into the true world. This poem is called A Cambodian Morning. One morning so lovely I think of it often, walking a small dirt road deep in the countryside before 5 a.m. July's full moon, slipping west. A lone farmer up earlier than me, leading oxen and plow under the glimmers of moonglow, turning rich soil into planting folds for paddies, anticipating rice sprouts' full transformation into bright green fields, an entire year's sustenance. A persistent silence spills over the tilled earth, a cool stillness inhabiting weather and ground that might happen any morning. But I am here for this one. No cows bellow, no motos rebound, no dogs yap, no chickens gossip, no humans swear. Only air, enveloping the bliss of no sound. This one is called April in Cambodia, and April is our hottest month. Think of July in California. Heat comes now as it always does for April. Clouds slip over morning's horizon, teasing the cooling rains coming next month. Skies cool down overnight, a brief reprieve from the stifling air that fills most days. Morning unfolds quiet memories. Its sanguine hues return each dawning, radiating all the colors of sun's complexion beyond the competence of language. April exists as its own season. Its oppressive beauty burns into fiery evenings whose swelters caress fruit to full sweetness, exploding the sensuous sugars that can only be imagined but for this time of year. Heat becomes the conversation of every hour, not so much as complaint, but assurance that the cosmic cycles still hold, an expectation that a more merciful future, though not certain, might yet arrive. Last year, we had a little bit of foreign culture visit us, and this is called Madama Butterfly Comes to Phnom Penh. In Puccini's opera, the audience knows Pinkerton's truth even before the moment he meets Cho-Cho-san. As men know well the nature of men, and women know it too. The audience agitates to keep from shouting to Butterfly, "Don't believe him, run away." But heart and destiny outrun sense, so Pinkerton's sends rush to the sad notes of the last aria. The new theater's 3,000 seats are full for ruling class party congresses, but tickets at US dollars 25 to 155 for families living off an average monthly wage of $392 to see an opera sung in Italian in a culture without Western operatic traditions are a harder, though not impossible, sell. 1,800 people arrive for the curtain, having navigated lounges of beer and spirit sponsors and waltzing trays of small catered bits appeasing the hour's dinner pangs. In time to watch, VIPs walk the aisles, tufts of red carpet stuck to their designer shoes. To be sure, opera isn't the actual place we live, but art evoking humanity's emotional home, a reflection of an aspirational garden we tend, hoping for flowers instead of the indolence allowing surrender to grass. If only the libretto had poetry to match the soaring voices and a plot less predictable to school children. But at the end, magic overwhelms the stage as fat passion floods every fault. Seemingly unbounded ovations rain from the audience. Roses fill the soprano's arms, and everything of importance comes to its glorious finish. This one is called Polishing the Philosopher's Stone. And the Philosopher's Stone is a bit of very ancient alchemy, the belief that the stone could turn base metals into gold. It's nearly 7 and I overslept this morning. That doesn't happen often. Even on these nights, I have trouble sleeping, head swirling in world sorrows. 4 of my granddaughters line up at the door to get money for school, each in uniform, each a smiling facet of the other's beauty. They are sent off with hand kisses, silent hopes for a future desperate for hope. I resolved to make something of my day, less taxing than making something of myself. Skipping the usual check on the day's news to go for a walk in the neighborhood. I'm socially awkward, separated from neighbors by lifelong shyness and inability to learn more than a toddler's vocabulary of their language. We smile at each other, and because their culture is ancient and generous, I am forgiven. To get to the road, I must step on the spot where my husband burned. where I will burn. This isn't something I allow myself to think often, or I would never make it out of the yard. Walking through the village, I'm in awe to be in this singular place with these people, so different from where I come, and yet not all that different. Here, people live in the present tense, working through one day to be present for the next, and not troubled about more or less than that. These are beleaguered stretches of days, maybe no more troubled, no more challenging than any other stretch of days, except these fall on us, so they hit especially hard. If the golden light of fortune shines over us, we will overcome these hardships, as have millions of ancestors who gave rise to us. Their resilience points to our survival. I am an American grandfather, sending 4 granddaughters to English class because I haven't learned their language. When the granddaughters return from school, I ask them to stand by me on the balcony, to look at the Mekong, how the river's blood moves as a constant flow. I can't tell them what they will only learn after the world breaks their hearts, but the entirety of knowing lies before them, spoken in the undulating syllables, washing stones away to time. This one is a little more personal, called I Was There a Long Time. It begins with an epigraph from Mary Jo Bang. A day is as long as the time it takes. I was there a long time, but didn't learn anything. It was someone else's idea. I had something to learn. It was the rainy season living up to its name, and the rain came down hard, too hard to go out. So I stayed by the window, nursing pulled coffee, wondering about croissants and how life had gone so wrong. The concept of wrong results from inability to calculate 1 + 1. The idea I had something to learn may be not wrong, but presumes I already know how to count. I was there a long time. Through the window, the reality of everything else rippled by. I read somewhere about how long a day takes. Time is never cut short by eulogy. My thoughts don't coalesce. My thoughts, who am I kidding? Their most attractive feature is they adore me. I was there a long time until the drink was freed of discernible flavors, until the difference between going out and staying in was only how much wet I could stand. I got drenched, clothes to the skin, shoes to the socks, gloriously wetted in the scouring wash of pure water. The day, long or short, wet or dry, does not avoid suffering. The spirit suffers, disheartened, fatigued into submission. Sky is hope. On time or late, rains come anyway, as they must. The enigma of weather, unable to contain all sky's reservoirs. Inside or outside, out still the best place to see rainbows. This one is called Insignificant Feats. If you don't throw anything away, everything lost eventually returns. I walked 10 feet into the next room and lost my train of thought, which I don't think of as a train, but as an auto pileup on the I-5 in fog. The world keeps turning regardless, and one of those turns brings back a name I could not for the life of me remember, as mysterious in returning as leaving. More than once, I've gone to get ice from the refrigerator and then stood there looking around all corners of the room for the glass I hold in my hand. Memory gets more wobbly by the day. Do you remember when we met? It was my birthday. I'd need a calculator to figure which one. I don't remember what we talked about or anything we said, but it was charming enough that we met again. Not an insignificant feat any time. Though I have forgotten keys almost daily, as well as key plot turns and favorite movies, I always remember when not getting credit for even the slightest accomplishment, for never forgetting your birthday, and now the date of your death. Taking credit for things is our DNA. To our credit, humans built the Great Pyramid. To our discredit, we forgot how and why. This one is called And Then the Rains Come. It is a dread keeping me from sleep long into the night, the worst kind of dread, devoid of light, nameless, faceless. It is muffled lightning attacking distant mountains. It is whir and slap of water drowning in a deluge. I know it well, this feeling. Something in the blinded night watches everything I do. Something is wrong. Something has been wrong a long time. All the phantoms fly out of the shadows at once. Because I'm awake, I see the waning crescent hold orange long into its ascent. That orange stays whatever waits for me. Living should be easier, but that's nothing I can make happen. Even if I knew how, I don't have the courage to do it. Life buttresses difficulties with guesswork. Just like now, I wonder how far I am from breaking. Soon everything starts to feel like a guess. How can I know when or if rest arrives, when or if I sleep? And then the rains come. I'm going to finish with this one. It's called Morning in the City, and a more recent poem. There's joy walking around these streets in early morning as humanity stretches to open the city's sleepy eyes, to watch shop owners sweep sidewalks, to experience the cool chair, the cool, clear air before city overtakes it. Morning light rouses a blue patina into the air, setting the tenor for this hour and season and day. He breathes in hints of cooking and coffee as he walks, pausing by vendors putting out fruits or vegetables, unable to resist the vibrant colors and welcoming chats. Then a leisurely return to the hotel, where he slips back to bed beside a boyfriend whose late sleep habit is undisturbed. The lovers lie still as two islands in an archipelago, each separate and different, yet connected by the reach of living. The alchemy of touch, as incomprehensible as beauty, as the euphony in the miraculous cry of the first breath. It is his birthday again. He almost forgot, not his holiday. It won't last long, what day does. Even the pleasant effects of morning already fading as the two finally make their way down to the street, where everything is open and ready. Welcome, Sharam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David, for such a beautiful, loving, sensuous reading. You're connected with nature, with the city, with your human partner, the people you see, and there's just such a humanity in your writing. We're with you all the time, and your language is just supremely beautiful. And so, the pace, it's your pace. And, a newness, there's a newness and a continuity and a connectedness with inside you and with the seasons and with the past and with the present. And so thank you very much for an astonishing reading. Thank you once again, David Olivera.
Oh, thank you, Harry.
And our next poet is Laurel Bogen. Laurel Bogen was born in Los Angeles and is the author of 11 books of poetry and short fiction, including Psychosis in the Produce Department, Washing a Language, The Last Girl in the Land of the Butterflies, Ragtag We Kiss, and Do Iguanas Dance. Under the Moonlight. She was a founding member of the celebrated poetry performance ensemble Nearly Fatal Women and an instructor of poetry and performance in the writers program at UCLA Extension. She has served on the board of directors at Beyond Brook Literary Arts Center and also as literary curator at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, which I had the privilege of reading there. Here's the legendary, brilliant poet, Laurel Bogen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here today and to be reading with my old and good friend, David Olivera, and also inviting me, Harry, to come to the motion picture home and read for the people that are there. I'm going to start with a poem that is based on a line by the poet Stanley Kunitz. And the line is, "How shall the heart be reconciled?" I could say, perfect your needlepoint prowess, stitch and focus, focus and stitch, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Instead, I am much more likely to fling out every encrusted thing I have stuffed down tightly. Things I think no one knows, but long ago I learned to say yes to the buried wound, embroider a pattern intricate and rare. My treasure, my beast that beats my fashion in my own fashion. A lot of these poems that I'm reading today are new, and then there's some old ones too, and this is one of the newer ones as well. It's called In the Place, but Not of It. Within the silence of the past, but not of memory, desire. I call out, speak to me, and wait in the silence for more silence. No echo, but palpable darkness surrounds me with webs hidden from sight. Part of this place, but not of it. The distant pinprick of transfigured light narrows through caves of my own making. There is no happiness in this. Unaware of self. Let go the wounded self. I don't really write a lot of political poems, but this one is. And it's called The Somnambulist's Lament. And it begins with a line. Before a building is razed, that's R-A-Z-E-D. Before a building is raised, its insects will molt. 1. Had I noticed sooner, I still would not have believed it. No matter how I shuffled, then reshuffled those old ghosts. At best, it was an inconvenience. The scratching in our walls became commonplace. I got by, sleeping. Then the air soured, crisped the edges of breath. The scratching in our walls became commonplace. Then the air soured, crisped the edges of breath before it banked toward the unsuspecting heart. Insects claimed majesty. 2. 3 days before exposure, I swallowed untruth because it was easier than to face his spray-on rage. Before the cameras roll, I grind my jaw to tune him out and dab foundation flesh number 5. He could pass for human. Just cover the slime with a bad comb over. Camouflage that belly behind red silk lies. But remember, stealing the art in the still beating heart will not save him. This is a poem about an event which I imagine most of us will remember. Happened in November of 1963. And my father was from New York. I was born and lived in Los Angeles my whole life. And but we used to take a lot of road trips because my dad was a teacher and had the summers off. And this is about a trip. We all drove to New York City and met the relatives I had never met before. And we stayed at the Waldorf Astoria, which was a big deal. We were the cousins from California. So this poem is called The Waldorf Astoria Family Album, New York, August 1963. Sitting at the Fairfax Theater in Los Angeles, I thought of bellhops and Ginger Rogers' kiddie matinee. In fact, I was 13 that summer, but looked younger, quiet, did what I was told. I liked the movies, lived in them. We had been the promised ones, 2 pet schnauzers, a leather harness to keep my brother from straying, me a head taller, reticent, rarely photographed. We wanted to be liked. I sniffed and curtsied. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. He gallantly threw footballs and baseballs in front of the white stucco house on Norton Avenue while we waited for Davy Crockett to save us. But what we must have meant for my father, the family, then driving back to his boyhood home in upstate New York, a transcontinental journey in a Cadillac convertible with fins and a blonde shiksa wife. The baby brother who made good, the 2 of us, their offspring, the cousins from California, didn't know egg creams or the automat, but were good kids, might have to smack 'em around now and then. I put Mad Magazine on the back seat floor as we crossed the George Washington Bridge, slipped my shoes on, and looked up at slab after slab of buildings lined up in rows, blocking the sky until I see flags and a man with gold epaulets in his uniform standing outside a revolving doorway on Park Avenue, and Dad glides the Cadillac up to the curb, runs his hands through his hair, comes back, says, "Helen, we're staying at the Waldorf." Outside and inside, my brother slides across the polished marble floor of the lobby like we belonged, with the popular young president who reigned in Camelot. Nothing bad could ever happen to any of us. This is a brand new poem called Poetry on the Half Shell. And I'm sure you all or might know the painting by Botticelli, Birth of Venus. So, Poetry on the Half Shell. Poems on mussels, poems on clams, poems stuck on barnacles wave their stanzas, me, me, me. Who will rescue them, pry them open like stubborn sestinas that will not work, but waggle their metaphors, then clamp down tight? No half-shell floozies shucked to salvation, no stigmata professions of fate. Words flop unattended, coaxed treasure from sham. I have to say, any poem that uses the word floozy, I kind of loved that line when I came up with that. I said to myself, floozy. Oh yeah, I write a poem together. I could use the word floozy, and so that made me very happy. Okay, this is as I mentioned, I was born here, and I've done many jobs as a poet in LA, and I've had lots of adventures, and the entertainment. I've had a lot of even things that I've done. I worked at I used to call it the Bill Morris Agency at one time, and then I worked for the Herald Examiner newspaper. And anyway, when you've lived here long enough, you've seen just about everything. And this poem is called Route 66, On Guard. Kicked to the curb, America is packed and heading west. Who cares if what litter-strewn history it leaves in its wake? Let's trash the whole damn place, smash every knuckle we have down the throat of lady birds, beautiful spaced out skies. Families or not, all wheels on the move for adventure, a handshake, and opportunity across a seething desert with no air conditioning. Static whines on and on. Bugs kamikaze the windshield with their yellow and green pulp. Somewhere, a triceratops guards the check-in office on this highway of truck stops and dinosaur-themed motels. We look for arrows of neon, search the horizon for a signpost toward our own personal twilight zone, one where a dude with a skinny tie points us to next stop, miniature golf. This ramp, fresh beef jerky. 2 miles to Tumbleweed Cafe. Over the edge to anywhere but here. We are in the back seat of privilege, singing with Dinah Shore. See the USA in a Chevrolet. Black and white TV told us this was the dream, and it alone, the dreamer. I should probably mention during World War II, my father actually went out with Dinah Shore. And so that was kind of a cool thing. And I am going to read, this is your 2-poem warning. This poem is called Kisses I Remember. In 1969, Ray Olson kissed me in the front seat of his Rambler. He tasted like cigarettes, and although I never smoked, I still like that taste. In 1958, I kissed my sister goodbye as she married her first husband. 4 more were to follow. In 1982, I went to a Tom Waits concert to avoid seeing Kiss. In 1976, Harley kissed me outside the Vagabond Theater on Wilshire Boulevard. When he ran his lips down my neck, my back arched and I spilled my purse all over the sidewalk. In May 1995, little Guy Bogen kissed my nose with his orange cat tongue. Sandpaper kiss. In 1962, Robert Goulet kissed me on the forehead backstage at the Coconut Grove. I was 12. Ray Levin, calling from Savannah, always says, our kisses make us feel better. You should know. In 1999, listening to Joni Mitchell reminded me that in France, they kiss on Main Street. On December 7th, 1971, my father leaned over me and kissed me while his tears splashed my face. It was the first time I realized that he liked me. The empty bottle of chloral hydrate mocked. The red light on the ambulance went around and around. The straps on the gurney held me like a sarcophagus. In 1963, I kissed a mirror to see what I looked like in case James Bond came into my bedroom. 2009, John Harris, S.A. Griven, Michael C. Ford, and Sherman Pearl kissed me so they could all be in this poem. On July 14th, 1992, I kissed my brother and wished him a happy 40th birthday. I watched as he unwrapped my gift, a baseball signed by Willie Mays, his hero. The Kiss of the Spider Woman, 1986. In 1979, I kissed an envelope handwritten by Gene Wilder, the world's greatest lover. In December 2004, I kissed Kathleen Lohr, Mark Beaver, Claudia Handler, Brad Dourif, Doug Knott, Janet Sager, Erica Erdman, Nicole Morgan, Jerry Garcia, Rick Dowlern, Cindy Woods, Beth Ruscio, Becky Garcia, The Lively Miss Lively, Linda Hogue, Michael Gall, and Venetia Craven. Before we listened to Dylan Thomas read A Child's Christmas in Wales on the CD player. Then we all drank too much champagne and orange juice and eggnog. I needed to go to sleep shortly thereafter. In 1965, I kissed my grandmother's powdery face in the nursing home where she died 6 months later. She did not know me, but I had been her favorite. In 1998, I kissed Mark on the cheek. I swore to myself I would never let myself fall in love again. And I didn't. And the last poem I'm going to read is My Celluloid Heroes. In whose dreams will these stars shimmer 100 light years from now? Their blown up images snipped of imperfections, the errant mole, an ingrown hair, where paste does not pass for diamonds. Confined by fame, Pilates, and exfoliation, tucked in canyons behind gated walls. Some corner the market on chihuahuas. Others collect bags of kudos. They tell me Rodeo Drive is a state of mind. As for mine, it skims along the Hollywood Boulevard like a chauffeur. From the back seat, I hear my voice at home in the shadows. I don't want to sleep yet, Bogen. Drive. I can see and not be seen, invisible to a world in which I was born. Now you see me. Now you don't. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Laurel, for just such a lovely reading. I love your poetry. You know, your poem, The Kiss, Route 66, On Guard, the poem about the Waldorf Astoria. You're a LA girl, a LA woman. You know, you chronicle LA for all of us. And your poetry is so fun and surprising and transformative. You know, you put your whole soul into your writing. Your writing is just marvelous. So thank you, Laurel Ann Bogen. Okay, David and Laurel Ann, you both just gave such a superlative reading, and you really lift us all up with your great language and your use of metaphor, your sense of the myth and also present day, and what each one of us, in your case, you go through in a day or a lifetime. And I like the connectedness and the continuity of both of your work. So, Laurel Ann, why don't you take a minute and just say a few things about David's poetry, and then David, you could say a few things about Laurel Ann, her poetry.
Well, David, first of all, I was so happy when I heard that we were going to be reading with each other.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
been way too long, and you've always been one of my favorite people. When I was talking to one of my friends recently, I said, do you remember David? He had those little baseball cards, poetry baseball cards, and I loved those cards. They were little pieces of art that had people like William Carlos Williams as a baseball Hall of Famer. I mean, they were wonderful, and you always brought so much fun and also beyond fun, more like transformation to all of the work that you took on in your life. As far as, you used to come to the bookstore that I worked at, and anyhow, made me very happy to hear that we were going to be working together on this reading. And I've missed you, and hearing the poems that you've written, especially, while you're not here, where you're in your new home, meant a lot to me, because it was like a window into, what you've been doing how long has it been since? About 10 years, maybe, since you've been?
20, more than 20.
Oh my God. Well, I really love the poems about Cambodia, the one about coming outside and meeting people on the street, and how they're generous to you, and you feel like you cannot speak their language as well, but you smile and connect on that level. And that was just beautiful.
David, we have like 1 minute left, so please, what would you like to say about Laurel Ann's poetry?
Well, I've admired Laurel Ann's poetry for a long time, and I would echo some of the nice things she just said about me to her. I think she's the grande dame of Los Angeles poetry, and will continue to be. What I like about her poetry is always surprising and full of humor. Some very subtle humor sometimes, but it's wonderful to listen to. And I was happy to hear these new poems. I didn't know them, and they're wonderful. They're wonderful. You haven't lost a bounce in your step.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Laurel and Bogen, for such a wonderful reading. Next Tuesday, Corinne Conley, Diane Schur, Raymond Benson, Arlene Middleman, Amelie Frank, Ken Funson will read their favorite poems. It'll be a fabulous show. So thank you very much. And here's our wonderful director, Jennifer Clymer. And it's been great. I always love hearing both of you and seeing you on the screen. So thank you.
Thank you for making the 250th episode of Harry's Poetry Hour so amazing. And thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week for 251.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.